Dale.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Couch Conversations with the Doctors, where health is wealth. Want to remind you guys to come on in, share, 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 and share again because health is wealth. We are here with Couch Conversations, and as always, we're going to go around the table and introduce everyone that's here with us on this evening. I'm going to start with the urologist of the stars who hates accolades, but I have to tell it to everyone. That's our very own Dr. Terry Mason. Dr. Mason, go right ahead.
Good evening, and it's always a pleasure to be on Couch Conversations with my colleagues. And I thank our esteemed I almost said it's almost promoted him to senator. I promoted to him from congressman to senator, but he's just everywhere doing everything for our community. He's just always there for the community, and not just a new thing, but this has been what he's always done. And I speak none other than the Congressman Danny K. Davis. So I thank him for this platform and the opportunity to be on it.
Simply outstanding, Dr. Mason, outstanding. To the man who is the chef and dad extraordinaire, that's our very own Dr. Pete Thomas. Dr. Thomas.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Congressman Davis. I'm excited to be here to help answer some of the questions that the community has. I'm also honored that today is a celebration of a man, Dr. Martin Luther the King, in the words of our community. It's just a true honor because of his and many more people's sacrifice. That I had the opportunity to have opportunities, right? And so I'm thankful for that, and looking forward to seeing and learning some things from my colleagues.
Outstanding. To the man who says that I threaten him to be here every Monday, but he's always here on time. That's our very own Dr. James Miller. Dr. Miller.
Oh, good evening, everybody, and we're happy to be with you this evening. Again, we say Happy Martin Luther King Celebration Day. It's this date. It always reminds me of some of the struggles and some of the issues that we've had to overcome, and of what we have to overcome as we go forward. But as we're here tonight, we're here to talk about the community of the health and healing our community. And we want to be able to share in that and to provide whatever information that will be helpful. So thanks for having me, and we hope we have a good time tonight.
Outstanding, outstanding. To my very own co-worker that's here with us on this evening, that's Dr. Douglas Graham. Dr. Graham, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone that's here?
Thank you, Nikki. I just wanted to echo what Dr. Mason said. I just got through spending 2 years working with the congressman in his office in Washington, D.C., and he's really much a really committed public servant. I'm a retired physician. I've worked in the community in the western suburbs for 30 years. I'm going to try and answer as best I can, and it's really an honor to be here tonight.
Outstanding. And to the doctor who keeps it 100, I think that's what they call her. That's Dr. 100. And she has a new hair color, new haircut, and some fabulous new spectacles, those beautiful new glasses that she has on. That's our very own Dr. Maya Green. Dr. Green.
Hey, hello everyone. Yeah, Nikki, we'll switch it up. We'll switch it up tomorrow, baby. Have it. Yes, but just echoing what everyone said. Thankful to be here. Thankful for Dr. King and also the legacy that still lives on through my colleagues here and yourself, Nikki, and definitely Congressman Danny K. Davis. The legacy lives on, and we're so excited to be here, excited to be part of the community, excited to learn and get through this time. So thank you for having me, Nikki. And Nikki, I want to thank you for thinking this up and creating it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Want to say hey to Dr. Serge, who is here with us on this evening. Serge, everyone has introduced themselves. So now you have to introduce yourself and tell us something about you. So go right ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction. My name is Dr. Serge Adisho. I'm a public health physician, and I'm the public health director at Prism Health Lab. which is a healthcare group that's been vaccinating and testing local Chicago and Northeast Illinois, the population for the past 2 years. And we just had an event today with with Nikki today through Congressman Danny Davis's approval. And we've been successfully vaccinating tens of thousands of people all around Illinois. And I've been studying the effects of COVID and the progress of it and where we are at this point, and have a lot of optimism that we should be out of this sooner than we think. And this is my passion. This is what I studied for, and now this is, I guess, our moment to shine. And I'm just glad to be a part of this group, and I'm here to help out in any way.
All right, thank you so much. Want to say hey to some of our viewers that's here with us on this evening. To Yolanda Williams, she says, good evening, everyone. Shauna Black Ice Jackson says, good evening from the Jacksons. Dorothy Murray is here, and she says, good evening. And Linda Johnson is here, and she is saying, good evening just as well. In honor of our very own Dr. Martin Luther King, as we celebrate his birthday on today, he says that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. He says, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that too. So as we sit here today, we love you and we want you to stay healthy. And that's one of the reasons why we are so committed to Couch Conversations and being here with you. When the congressman is freed up from his MLK Day events, he will definitely be clicking on with us on this evening. But while we are waiting on him to actually get here, we see Dr. Tony Hampton has made his arrival, and we're going to have the chef, the real Wolfgang Puck. This is the real Wolfgang Puck. His name is really Tony Hampton. We're going to have him introduce himself since he is here. Dr. Hampton.
All right, guys, good to be here. Just ran from clinic, late meetings, and just getting to you guys. Always happy to spend some quality time with you guys. Family doctor, obesity doctor, just a doctor that's just trying to help people any way I can. I love my colleagues. I love the people who chime in, who really care about their health and really want to make a difference. And really, this is the year. This is your year, 2022, to say, do yourself ever. And guess what? There are people who are less motivated than you, have been through way more than you, and they're getting it done. So let's make this your year. This is the year to make it happen. Happy to be here, guys.
The year of happening. All right, this is the year of happening. I guess we'll just get right into those questions. So our very first question this evening says, I eat right, I don't smoke, but I have a question for Dr. Mason or any of the doctors that are on the panel that can assist. I am a man under 45. And my question is, can stress cause bouts of ED?
And the short answer to that question is yes. Stress can cause a lot of things. And the stress that you have, it's not the occasional stress, it's that long-term stress, the stuff that you don't really get resolved. And the stress creates a number of conditions in the body, but it also aggravates underlying conditions that already may be there that are creating a problem. That is blockages, because we know that erectile dysfunction or impotence is caused by damage to the inside lining of the blood vessels. And we've got little blood vessels that feed the penis, and also these sort of lakes that we call sinuses in the penis that have to fill up with blood and stay full with blood in order to maintain the erection. And if anything happens, like stress or anything that prevents these things from the muscle from being relaxed enough to create the blockage or to enhance the flow of blood into the penis, yes, you can have these issues. And I would recommend that you get to the bottom of your issue, the thing that's creating this stress for you. And I tell you, having done this for about 26 years, men are very reluctant to go to see a counselor. And that's sometimes what we need to do. It's not an affront to your manhood or anything like that. It's just something that we all, just like if you You know, if something's wrong with your car and you know it's a carburetor, you go somebody does carburetors. If it's something wrong with your body and you know it's a stress thing, you go to people who deal with stress. And so, and it's okay. And you get more anxiety the more you try and fail. So the more you, and that's called performance anxiety. And so the more you try and fail, the worse this gets. That's why it's important to break the cycle by seeing a counselor, psychologist. It's not your cuckoo or anything like that, but it's just something that you need to get help to get you through.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dr. Mason, I agree with that totally. You know, he's the expert on this. He's been doing it for so long that he knows exactly what he's talking about. The other thing I would just add to his point, to his original point, like there's so much that goes into that low level stress, those low level stress that we experience because, like, in a survival kind of technique, so your body knows when when you're in trouble. And so if you were in the middle of a street and a speeding car was coming towards you, these stress hormones are responsible for mobilizing fuel to get your body out of the way of harm. So if you can imagine your body's feeling this stress and those stress hormones are secreted, but maybe not at the same level that if you were falling off a cliff or if you were in the middle of the street, but just ever so elevated. And as a result of that, that causes the constriction of the blood vessels, and those tiny blood vessels, the ones that are most affected are the tiny blood vessels that go to your penis. And so, and that's responsible for your penis becoming engorged and erect. So those are signs that to Dr. Mason's point, even though the levels are low, right? And even though we're sort of used to this chronic stress, we're used to racism, we're used to being behind on our bills, we're used to not having great relationships with our family members. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go get help for it. You know, just because you hear that knocking in your car and you've been hearing it for a long time, doesn't mean that you shouldn't go figure out, why is this knocking happening in my car?
And well, let me just say this real quick. All these men on the panel are experts. Let me just go there because, and thank God, right? So listen, this is about inflammation. And that's why we talk about lifestyle constantly. We can give you pills all day long. It's inflammation. And I had a patient just today who was, calling about, why am I having problems at a young age? And in this inflammation, if you listen to the lifestyle he has, and it's the same inflammation that leads to high blood pressure and affecting those arteries. Diabetes causes inflammation. So you shouldn't be surprised if you have diabetes that you're having problems. Lack of exercise, believe it or not, causes inflammation. You're not really allowing the blood flow because you're not exercising. So you're going to have problems with inflammation, and the circulation is not going to be well. And then if you don't do all these lifestyle things, your doctor's going to say, I got to put you on medicine. And if he puts you on medicine, he or she, you're going to have problems with erectile dysfunction, because the medicines, one of the side effects for a lot of medicine, especially things dealing with your mental health, because you're going to be depressed because it's not working. Then you're going to have the blood pressure. You're going to be on beta blockers and these blood pressure medicines that affect your sexual health. And all of these things are connected. It's all about inflammation. And again, as Dr. Mason has suggested, it's one of the first things that go wrong. And so when I'm talking to men, I'm saying to them, listen, I know you're not interested in the cholesterol and all this other stuff, but I'm sure you're interested in what's going on down there. And if you make these simple changes in 2022, your life will be forever changed. And what's really cool about exercise, and I don't want to, announce too much on a live forum, when you exercise, game on. Things are just better that day. Shake your head, Brother Pete. On that day, you better watch out, because you're ready to do some things. And you don't have to do a ton of exercise, but you have to move your body.
And then the last, I guess, the question that I have that takes me back to a little session we did on sleep. I remember, I think it was Dr. Tony saying, hey, if you don't get enough sleep, And it brings in what Dr. Pete said. It increases your fight or flight hormones, and then brings in what Dr. Mason said, which is under those circumstances, you have the inflammation and the sinuses don't fill up well, and and it's just and then overall, what Dr. Mason said, then it becomes a cycle. Then you don't get enough sleep, and then you're stressed, and then and it's just a cycle. And the importance. So, how important for I guess Dr. Mason or anyone, how important is it to try to interrupt or move towards cessation of that cycle as early as possible?
I think you hit it on the head, Dr. Maya. It's extremely important. And we have to remember when Dr. Hampton talks about inflammatory things, you have to think of the things that we eat that are inflammatory. Most everything that's not natural will cause some kind of inflammation. And many things that we eat are very, very inflammatory. And that's why when you look at things that are anti-inflammatory, those will usually be plant sources. Most of the plant source things will be anti-inflammatory because they contain chemicals that are natural anti-inflammatory agents. Now we try and take those things and put them in pills and make you think you can get the same effect from taking it from the pill, but you don't. And that's why you have to begin to make sure that you are eating stuff that comes out of the ground, as opposed to your diet being totally composed of stuff that walks, hops, crawls, slithers, flies, has arms. Those things will contain more inflammation. So you want to eat your things that have anti-inflammatory properties. And those things come from things that come out of the ground, in addition to stress, because I'm going to tell you, when you with your partner, that's another source of stress, because when you're not able to fulfill those quote unquote obligations, then that creates a whole nother sort of stress in the home. And the more you try and fail, the more stress it creates. And that's what we end up calling performance anxiety and all kinds of other stuff. So you want to try and stop this as best you can. You can't go eat one meal and think it's going to change. No, you've got to make a decision, and you can't go out and walk one day and think that's going to change. You have to make a decision, and then you have to stay with that decision and work with it, knowing that it may be difficult, but you have to continue to work with it, because if you're an adult, you've been feeding your body these inflammatory substances for 10, 20, 30 years, and you can't go 3 days and it's going to be fine. So you've got to think about the long term with how you approach these and other problems.
And I know we beat this to a pulp right now, but I'm just going to say that to Dr. Hampton's point is that your body, when you exercise, your body recognizes the need for increased blood flow, and it's going to need for the increase of testosterone. And so it will produce its own testosterone and its own chemicals that will aid in what we call vasodilatation, or increase in the blood flow that will improve blood flow everywhere. And that includes the penis. But in more vital organs, we're talking about heart and brain and kidneys. And so that's the importance of exercise. And also, but to Dr. Mason's point, the foods that you eat, when you're eating those greens and those beets, beets is like a natural endorphin that allows your blood vessels to expand. So it's not always about medications, which I'm an internal medicine physician, so I believe in medication, but I think it has its place, and that we recognize that we can't out-prescribe your lifestyle. So eat well and exercise and get away from toxic people. Real talk.
Can you hold the mic up and drop it? Can you drop the mic?
Like, y'all calling me 100. I was like, boom.
Yeah, drop that mic. I want to say hey to Sister Bonnie, who is here with us, to Nellie King. Nellie Parnell King is here. Mary Ballinger is here, and they're all saying, good evening, everyone. Shauna Black Eyes Jackson saying, yes, it does. Jack Lynch is here with us, and he says, hey, team, I am home from the 23 days in the hospital. Thanks for all the well wishes. Yes, 23 days in the hospital with that Miss Rona, as Dr. Maya calls it. But he is home and doing well, and we are glad, and we have been praying, and God is faithful. God is absolutely faithful, and He is a keeper. Yes, He is. Let me slow down before Dr. Maya starts singing for us. We don't want to release that to you all yet. We don't want to release some songs that.
Hey, Nikki, if I could, something that came
Sure.
up because there was an event that the congressman you were at this past Sunday, this past week, at a church on one of the many churches on the South Side that were doing vaccinations. But one thing came to me as I was trying to think about how to better explain how vaccines work and why they're so important. And so what came to me is I grew up and we had roaches in our house. And when I moved over to when I grew up more and got my own place, and I lived in Lake Meadows and Prairie Shores, we have roaches there too. And one thing you got to know about roaches, roaches, when you're trying to exterminate for roaches, you can't exterminate in just one apartment, okay, or in just your house. So if you
Come on, Bishop.
if you just exterminate for the roaches in your place, you just really chase them to someplace else.
Yeah,
they don't do anything. So and so they will then set up shop and multiply. And roaches multiply very quickly, by the way, in case you didn't know, they multiply very quickly. And those of you like me who grew up with these creatures, we know that. So what's the point? The point is the reason that we take the vaccine, or the reason we always talk about the vaccine, is because it's like if I use a lot of roach bomb and insect and repellent in my house, but the people that I live next door to and all the other places don't, all the roaches do is run over there. And they continue to multiply, and before you know it, they back in my house. So the only way that we could use to deal with the roaches is we had to make sure everybody exterminated at the same time, so there was no safe places for the roaches to go. And that's what the vaccine does. What we do, it doesn't do anything for roaches. The vaccine doesn't do anything about that, but it does stop the virus that causes the problem that we call Rona, as we've been talking about it, but the disease that we call COVID-19. And so if you take the vaccine and you're protected from it, and that keeps the coronaviruses from growing in your body, but your neighbors or your family members don't take it, then what they do, like the roaches, the virus will go over to that body and begin to reproduce itself, because now there's nothing to stop it. That's why I said one other week that taking the vaccine is not, in a public health emergency, an individual decision. To be part of the public health solution, you have to take the vaccine, because we need to make sure that the virus can't set up shop like the roaches and multiply again. That's what's important. And so this came to me while I was thinking about a way to explain it based on my history growing up in Inglewood.
Hey, Serge, would you like to comment about that? Dr. Mason, that was perfect. I mean, I will have to use that analogy myself. But Serge, would you like to comment about the need for vaccines?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been harping on it for months now, and I appreciate you all being advocates for that. So I guess what I could say is, aside from the obvious regarding the vaccination program, is the booster is vital at this time, because if you have been vaccinated and it's been over 6 months since your last vaccine, it's almost as if you were never vaccinated, because of Omicron, because of the high the infectivity rate of it, how infectious it is. And so if you already had the first round of vaccines, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get it this time. And it's available everywhere. There's no reason, there's no excuse not to get it. Every pharmacy, every clinic, we offer it. If you go on our website, prism.org, we're all over Cook County, all over Northeast Illinois. And we see how effective it is. It keeps you out of the hospital. It keeps you off of, God forbid, ventilators. Even though Omicron has a high infectivity rate, even if you may get sick, even if you are infected, you are not as sick as you would be otherwise. And the data shows that the rate of hospitalization and death rate has dramatically decreased, even if you are boosted. And so right now we're pushing for children to get boosted 12 and up, and then the 5 to 11-year-old range, where we're at right at this point. And children get sick too. So we've seen with Omicron that the hospitalization rate for children has gone up just based off of the sheer numbers. And, I always say that vaccines have been just a blessing for civilization. It's one of modern civilization's best, discoveries. And so I have to be a strong advocate for anything that prevents disease. It's, what I studied was not just public health, but preventive medicine. And so if anyone has any issues with side effects or potential allergies and whatnot, I always try to appease their mind and just state that I would rather have a side effect of a sore arm and a headache and a fever than the severity of the illness itself. So that's my word on it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I just posted that only 38% of the United States population has been boosted. So we got to get this message out that the Omicron variant is really, really resistant, and we need people. And I get it. What I'm hearing from patients is they're just sort of over it. And I think we have to explain that, it's kind of like we're already here. We're, we can see the end of the tunnel. Like, we gotta finish this thing. It's almost like playing 3/4 of a football game and not playing the fourth. This is the most important quarter. This is it. And so I'm explaining that to my patients and getting them to see that it's important that we go ahead, and especially people that went on, that these are people who got their 2 vaccines, but they just feel like, oh no, not again, kind of thing.
All right. Well, we got Bebe's kids, we got the roaches, and we got the football game. If people can't catch it between those 3, I mean, this is what I love. You're breaking it down to the bare minimum. So if you can't catch it with Bebe's kids, understand the roach theory. I mean, because that's real. It's real. If you didn't get the roach theory for all of our sports fans out there, if you are stuck in the 3rd quarter, like Dr. P just said, who's going to get the field goal? Is that what they get in football, field goals? Right? Yeah, who's going to get the field goal? So come on, get it together. Get it together. Our next question says, why does COVID-19 seem to be followed up with some type of pneumonia?
Well, I know. Oh, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Well, I mean, I know we're all gonna. I know all the people here can speak to it, so I'll just kick it off with a little part. COVID-19 affects so many, or the coronavirus impacts so many parts of our bodies, right? Remember when it first came out, we was like, oh, just the lungs. Then we was like the vasculature. Now we're like brain fog. Now we're, then was kidneys. What happens, and so what's going on? Back to who kicked it off with inflammatory response? I don't remember.
Dr. Hampton, Tony did.
Dr. Hampton. Back to what Dr. Hampton was saying. When something gets in your body and the body is like, that's not part of me. We have our immune system, our soldiers that go and attack it. It finds a way. We have different, we have different factions, just like a military system has Army, Navy, Marines, different ones. Our immune system has different factions. So those factions go and say, okay, do I need to attack this by air, land, water? Which branch of my military I'm gonna send out, right? And say like COVID, if you think about it, they're like, how do you do it? How do you get it? They were talking about you breathe it in. Where does things that you breathe in go? In your lungs. And so that's why we were like, okay, it hit there first, right? Keep in mind that it also impacts other parts of your body. But since we're talking about the lung, let's stay there, right? So back to my army, my military, it's going to attack it. It attacks it where it is in the lung, air, land, water, lung, kidney, heart. What you doing? Okay, now I'm in the lung. That battle, you ever seen, like you turn on TV, you ever seen those battles? And it's flames, and they're people battling. The soldiers are battling the enemy, but there's flames and buildings breaking down, and just the all-out, I forgot what you call it, war of the battlefield. Casualties of the war. So when you talk about the body, my immune system soldiers, when it goes to attack coronavirus or whatever's there, we talking about coronavirus, it's going to release all kinds of chemicals. I'm pulling out knives, I'm pulling out guns, I'm doing what I got to do. I'm releasing all my weapons, those weapons, and the disarray. I don't want to get all, whatever you see by the person, whatever comes on the battlefield, it's still there in my lung. Now, COVID goes into the sacs, likes to go into the sacs of your lung. So now I got a whole battlefield. Now, when you look at the movies, you see the battlefield. What happens? They drag everything off the battlefield. They got to clean it up. That cleaning up process. So the war is over, just like that person. Thankfully, this person is on the other side of this COVID experience. The body still has to clean up the battlefield. That can take months. You hear me? Months, because it's in them little sacks. Now I got to go in the little sack, in the little nook and cranny, clean that out, right? Then I got to go in there and clean the next thing out. And that usually takes months after that battle. So a lot of people are like, oh, you get COVID and, days later, you're okay. That's not true for a lot of people. It's a month, and that's where you get into people. There's long haulers, things like that, because we're talking about the lungs, those months it takes to clean out that gook of the battlefield. But remember, this is also going on in your vasculature and your kidneys and your heart for some people, and affecting your nerves. So brain fog. All right. I'll leave it there, and the next person can pick it up.
You laid it down.
Yeah, you're like you hit it. You hit it. It's not, you didn't leave anything for us to do. But yeah, Dr. Mai pointed it out. I mean, the organism entered through our respiratory system. We breathe it in, and just like air, it goes from your nose into your lungs. And so having pneumonia would be fairly common kind of things that do happen from infections that are that you breathe in. And so that's why pneumonia is an occurrence that we have. And as during the early course, people might remember that one of the criteria is whether or not a person would need to be hospitalized or not would be whether or not they were able to sustain adequate oxygenation of their tissue. So if they went to the emergency room and their pulse ox was low, that would be an indication that maybe they need to be hospitalized and monitored or need to be on oxygen. So that lung is the first portal. That respiratory tract is the first portal of interest, and that's where the initial effect of this virus occurs. So that's pneumonia is just one of those things that does occur.
So now imagine that person who is at high risk for all of this inflammation. And we'll start with the person who's not at their ideal body weight, because when you're not at your ideal body weight, there's going to be inflammation. And then you go to the person who doesn't exercise. If you think about it, that person who doesn't exercise, they're going to be at higher risk for all of these things that happen. Then you go to the person who's always stressed. And that person who's stressed is going to have inflammation. They're going to be more likely. I've seen patients who were healthy otherwise, but they're stressed, didn't do well with COVID. Person that doesn't get enough sleep. You know what happens when you don't get enough sleep? You end up getting colds and you get sick. that person is going to be more likely. That person who has had trauma and didn't deal with trauma in the past, that person is going to be more likely to get sick. That person who's in dysfunctional relationships, that person is more likely to get sick. So it's all of these things. That's why I try to teach my patients, you got to deal with all of your issues if you're going to be healthy. And guess what? I hate to go there, but if you're African American, you're more likely to be sick because you are more likely to have this cytokine storm, all of that crazy. Dr. Maya was talking about guns, knives. Well, in African American bodies, it's going to be a whole lot of guns and knives, inflammation occurring. Why is it more in us than Caucasians? I can't tell. You're still doing the research, but that's science. If you just look it up, it's there. And so we're more likely to succumb to this, which is why we're more likely to benefit from the vaccination. We're more likely to benefit from getting out of dysfunctional relationships. We're more likely to benefit from working on our stress. We're more likely to benefit if we get enough sleep. So we have to deal with all of these issues. And that's why when you think about social determinants of health and why it affects communities of colors, because they're dealing with all these other things that some communities don't deal with. So that's why we struggle. And that's why we have to protect ourselves so we don't put ourselves in harm's way and be susceptible to pneumonia.
I just want to add something to what Dr. Hampton has said. You know, Mari Gallagher in 2010 did a report and talked about and introduced the concept that people picked up called food deserts. And now everybody talks about food deserts. But what people don't talk about in Mari's report is that Mari went community by community and showed a difference in life expectancy based on the distance of places for people to buy good food versus how close it was and easy it was to get bad food. So all of this stuff goes together and it's not separate. It's not separate. We got to stop thinking that we could take this for that and this for this. And no, there's some things that we need to take that do a lot of things that reinforce that army that Dr. Maya talked about. So we need to understand that there are no magic bullets. What we need to do is, and we already know that there's differences in life expectancy already in Chicago. Just 30 minutes on the train and the life expectancy could change by 30 years. Mm-hmm. So we know that these things already exist. And when we get infections that do what COVID does, like Dr. Maya just talked about, that's why we die more. We make up about 29% of the population of the city of Chicago, but we made up over 60% of the deaths from COVID. And is there something genetically wrong with Black people? No, it is not genetics. It's where we work, live, and play that determine when and how we die.
That, by the way, that's called epigenetics.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, and he's so right. Like literally, you always hear that thing about your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. It is so there are certain things you can control. You control those things. Don't worry about the things you can't. You can't change your mom or your daddy. You may not even be changing your neighborhood right away, but you control the things that you can control. And by doing that, you'll probably be okay. You'll probably be in a space where you're able to be safe. But we have to control the things we can. We can't change our color. We can't change some of the things that, our financial situation right away, but you can change those other things that will keep you safe.
Just one thing I wanted to just add real quick. We did our study and it finally got published in Nutrients, Dr. Hampton. And we did the study that showed that, and it was small, and we're going to raise $1.2 million to do a much larger study. Because this study only had like 36 people that went through the whole thing. But basically what we did was measured all these inflammatory markers before, and we had one group of people that ate whatever they normally ate, and we had another group of people who we put on a plant-based diet. And in 4 weeks, and I got the paper for anybody who wants to see it peer-reviewed, that shows that there was a reduction in the inflammatory markers by over 40% in 4 weeks. Now, you don't get that with medication. I don't care what you say, you won't get that with medication. This is, and the point we're trying to make that all of us have said, it's the food. It's the food and the things we call food. That's where the rubber meets the road, and where we've got to look at these things. I mean, there's all kinds of things. The International Agency for Research on Cancer talks about how how 4 pieces of bacon or 1 hot dog increases your colorectal cancer risk by 18%. We've got all the data we need. We've got people like our good friend Dr. Robert Lustig in California, who's been talking about the role that sugar plays. We've had movies and all kinds of things that come out to alert us the kinds of things that these inflammatory things which come from the foods that we eat. More than likely, if it comes out of a box, bottle, can, it's not something that you went to the store and got in its normal form. And if you're not eating any antioxidants, I'm not talking about taking pills. I'm talking about eating natural antioxidants, greens, beans. That's why our parents did so well, because they got sunlight, they got rest, they got water, and they had greens, beans, collard greens, and to your point, beets, which are superfoods as it relates to antioxidants. The darker the color of whatever it is you eat, the more antioxidants it contains.
All right. The darker.
The darker, yes. The darker,
The
more
darker.
vibrant that color.
The more vibrant it is. All right. Moving on to question number 3. The person says, "Good evening, Congressman Davis and the doctors. I am a committed viewer of Couch Conversations. Congressman Davis, I think this is a really great thing. I've been watching this broadcast since its inception, when it was just Nikki and Dr. Pete. Dr. Pete, you remember that? I really want to say thank you to all of you for taking your time out and doing this. I was captured when I found Nikki and Dr. Pete being so candid and honest with the community about us staying healthy, both from a medical and a layman's point of view. It makes so much sense. I, my family, and friends, we have been captured ever since. I have never asked a question, but I've always tuned in for life-saving information. Tonight, I have a few questions. I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis. Did I get all those consonants right? Okay. I was given some prescriptions. This diagnosis was kind of laid in my lap with no real explanation. But if I can ask the panel to please share what can help me stay healthy, that would be great. From food, should I exercise, or whatever I need to do to overcome this? Thank you.
So, Dr. Doug, you gonna start us off since you're our resident rheumatologist?
So, my understanding of myasthenia gravis is this is a very unusual autoimmune disease. And what that means is part of your body is attacking another part of your body because it misidentifies it as being foreign. This does require, from my experience, management by a specialist, because they're able to identify where the attack is coming from, where it's headed, and what might be done to neutralize it. But what Dr. Hampton is saying, Dr. Mason is saying is on point, because these attacks cause inflammation. So the things that you can do to reduce inflammation will improve your prognosis and your responses to treatment. So when Dr. Mason's talking about things that grow in the ground, that are antioxidant, those are your friends. When Dr. Hampton's talking about those things that are not your friends, high salt, high sugar, those are things that are going to interfere with your getting better and give you a lesser prognosis. So how about that for a start?
Yeah. Also, with regards to foods that you can eat, broccoli, sauerkraut, salmon are all anti-inflammatory foods. So you can start with that. Beets is considered to be a superfood. So you want to consider those foods as well.
And just a baseline of myasthenia gravis, it's chronic. To my knowledge, there's no current cure. and then it is autoimmune. Today is inflammatory day, right? Autoimmune place again, attacking the connection between your neurons, and your muscle. So if I want to flex my muscle, first, I can't get my muscle in here. It's too much guns. But anyway, can't get it in here. Okay. But because I've been at the gym, I've been doing a little plant-based, But anyway, if I want to flex this muscle, I first it happens here. Like, okay, Maya, flex your muscle or blink your eye. I use blink your eye. Can you, flex my muscle? It starts here. And then the nerve, the brain sends the communication through the nerve, and boom, it starts. It usually attacks your voluntary muscles, the one that says flex your muscle, blink your eye, things like that. And again, it's a chronic autoimmune disease where there's disruption of that nerve talking to that muscle. So what that means, a lot of people will start to notice drooping of one or both eyes, things like that. Those are the first things. The very important that what Dr. Graham said, keep your appointments, because for some people, there's something called a thymus gland, and sometimes for some people, the inflammatory response in that thymus gland is too much, and it starts to reproduce cells over and over again, which can lead to things like cancer. For some people, not all people, but if you keep your appointment, like Dr. Doug said, with your specialist, they can look at it, and sometimes they just need to take it out, and that's it. But again, just like what did we talk about? Erectile dysfunction and all and other things. The earlier you can get in care and stay in care regarding that, the better.
Yeah. Only other thing I'll add when we are moving from the food is also learning a little bit about how your body is working with myasthenia, which means that people that have it, fatigue and muscle weakness can occur. And it usually there's a time of the day, and it's usually when you've been doing a lot of especially repetitive types of movement, but a lot of activity will cause increase in the weakness. So recognize, what time of day that is, so that you can get those things done that you need to do at a time when your muscles are not fatigued. That way you'll be able to do it better. But even though we're talking about fatigue of the muscle, you still need to exercise. That's an important thing, that you do exercise to help to maintain those muscle function. And and when you do get tired, rest. Don't try to keep pushing. Take a rest.
All right. What are endorphins?
So an endorphin is a chemical that's released that kind of acts like a messenger to go to other parts of your body and helps you respond. And oftentimes it gives you energy or excitement or powerful emotions that help you react to a situation.
And it
which are
also
naturally occurring, and your body makes them and utilizes them in certain situations to help you get through that situation.
And then it also, to add to what Dr. Graham was saying, it also decreases some chronic pain feelings or some feelings of pain. As a matter of fact, the word endorphin, I meant to say this, so I just got to backtrack. Myasthenia, right, literally means your muscle is disconnected and not listening to the rest of your body. That's what it means. Endorphin, now fast forward. Boom. Endorphin it literally means something that's created from the inside that gives you all those effects that Dr. Graham just talked about. Or I don't know if you all recall earlier, just in this talk, Dr. Pete mentioned a way to increase your endorphins through exercise, right? And so you can encourage. So we talked about ways you can get things from outside of the body, right? Exogenous things. Endogenous, I can increase these things, endorphins, things that I create from the inside of me that give me all these benefits Dr. Graham just talked about. Reduce stress, better sleep, all those yay feelings, and it reduces feelings of like chronic pain. So indoor.
I
All
just
right.
wanted to add to the exercise piece because a lot of times we think exercise, we think gym, we think structured activity, we think of the health club, we think of all these things, and all those things are correct. But let me tell you that and I can tell you because I used to be about 237 pounds, and now I'm down to 150.
Jeez.
And I'm talking about my own personal experience here. I'm not talking about somebody told me. I'm telling you what happened. And basically, it's the plant-based diet that I've done, but also probably one of the easiest exercises you can do is walk. And that's what I did this summer. And I would say to you, and what we're going to do for the winter when it gets too cold is I bought a subscription to the Museum of Science and Industry so I can go inside and just walk around the museum and come out. So there's always a way when you want to do something to get it done. And I can tell you when we first started walking from 51st and we walked to 47th Street. Then we made that to 39th Street. Then we went from 51st to 31st Street, then 51st to to 22nd Street, then 51st to Roosevelt Road. Now our goal is to go from 51st to Navy Pier. And I'm just talking walking and talking. Find somebody that you like that you can walk, because I'm not talking about running. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm just talking about walking, the most natural exercise we have. And yes, if you want to put a little strain, you can walk faster if you like to. But I'm just saying, I'm telling you what I saw for myself. That plus the way I ate. And I wasn't trying. It just happened. It just was one of those things that just happened. So I really suggest, if you want to find, I can tell you this about when you want to do something. When you want to do something, you find a way. And if you really want to do this, you'll find a way. A lot of times people used to walk in the malls in the wintertime and different things like that. But if you spend, it costs $49 for the year to join the museum. So I'm just saying, you got, at the end of the day, you got to want this. And you got to want to do what it takes. And nothing happens all at once. You didn't gain it all at once. You won't lose it all at once. So you got to take your time and do this in a measured way. And you won't hurt yourself. I would suggest, though, if you're going to start walking, and it's not a conversation, an ad for fleet people, go and get someone to do an adequate exam of your foot. If you don't have a podiatrist to do that, and make sure you get yourself the right kind of supportive shoes to wear if you're going to start walking. We're going to start back up we're going to continue during the winter inside at the museum, but I'll let people know when we start back up outside along the lakefront. And it's simple.
And if you want to join, look, just like I just invite them to your stuff. And if you like to join, Dr. Mason, and the Chicago Public Library has free passes to museums and other indoor places. If you just want to check it out and have that experience. And so at no cost, you just go up to the library, ask for that pass, and get going.
And Dr. Mason, I mean, he looked fantastic when he was over 200 pounds. So I'm not, but he looks super fantastic now. And that suit he had on the other day laid on him like butter. I mean,
like butter, but not real, but not butter.
Not butter.
It lay on like
butter.
Butter. Forks over knives, y'all.
Forks over knives. Not that butter, but I mean, it was simply fantastic. And I love the fact that Dr. Mason walks and he tells me all the time, and they leave 51st Street and I'm still at 47th Street waiting on them to come back because I can't keep going with them. But it's simply fantastic. Dr. Mason, Sister Bonnie says that is so true. But I love Tamika Thomas. I love your niece who always
Hey, Mika.
And I love her, but I know she wouldn't even have to tell me she was your niece, because I'm going to read this one comment she put here. She reached out to her friend, Rosetta Shepherd, and she said, that's what we did from 63rd Street to Roosevelt. 63rd to Roosevelt, go right ahead, Mika girl. You got it. You got it. Mika got it. Want to say hey to Audrey Jaycox that's here with us. To Reverend Walter Jones, who's here, he says, I love this gathering. And of course, Tamika was doing the family call out. There are a few more that I'm going to get to them just as well. Question 5, because we're nearing that time. And I did want to get this question in because this young lady has shared this question a couple times, and we never get the opportunity to get to her. She says, my twin brother and I both were diagnosed with breast cancer. She says, thank God we are both 11-year survivors of breast cancer. A while back, you guys did a show in October on breast cancer. Thank you, Congressman Davis and the doctors for doing that. And thank you for sharing at that time that men, Black men, have breast cancer too. To my question, when we were diagnosed with treatments and surgeries, they took my brother's lymph nodes and not mine. Was there a reason? Can you share the importance or lack of importance of lymph nodes?
So one of the ways to think about that has to do with where the tumor is located. And the lymph nodes act as a drainage system for that area of the body. They're going to be the first place where a cancer cell might spread. So if the tumor is small enough and located in an area, they may not need to do that. But they can tell by the history of looking at other breast cancers, based on where in the breast it is, whether or not it's necessary to take out the lymph nodes. Now, the value of doing that is if you see cancer in the lymph nodes, that tells you something about the personality of this cancer and helps you change or select your treatment. So that's the reason why it was done, and that's the value of doing it.
And I just want to add to what Dr. Doug is saying. All of this is what we call staging. That's what Dr. Doug was talking about, staging. What stage is the tumor? And usually, if all of the cancer is in the organ of origin, then when you take out the organ of origin, this case the breast, and there is no evidence of extension of the tumor beyond the breast, that's one kind of treatment. If it is beyond the organ of origin, in a lymph node or in a lung or in a liver, now you have to do something because the surgery by itself didn't remove all of the tumor. And that's when you use things called chemotherapy and or radiation. So that's what those things are for. It's saying that there's evidence that there's tumors somewhere else. And obviously, we want to do everything we can. And sometimes you'll end up on hormones for the breast cancer that take away the chemicals that help breast tissue grow. And in women, that's estrogen. And so you'll be on may have to go on some drugs that give you like hot flashes because it takes away it. But you need to have a nice conversation with your oncologist and your physician. And don't be afraid to re-ask questions if you don't understand what they say. Say, excuse me, I did not understand what you said. Because a lot of times we sit there, we nod our heads like we understand, but we don't know. And oftentimes we're too embarrassed to acknowledge that we don't know. Well, guess what? The doctor didn't know before he was a doctor either. So we all had to learn. And if you got a good doctor, they will sit there and help you to understand what it is they're talking about.
And to your point, Dr. Mason, most oncologists have oncology nurses that can spend more time. We get that the oncologist may be really busy, but you can ask to speak to one of the oncology nurses to help explain things. In addition to that, that's why you need a primary care doc, because you can always go to your primary care doc and say, hey, I read my report, and he talked to me or she talked to me, but I wasn't really clear. Can you make this more clear for me? And I think no primary care doctor is going to turn that down. We want you to be better informed. The more informed you are, to me, the better your actions are. So that improves your survival when you are acting in accordance to what you understand and what we want you to do.
I can say from having to deal with men with cancer, prostate cancer, and even women with bladder cancer and what have you, after you say the word cancer, most people don't hear anything after that. And so the absolute wrong time to try and make sure people understand is then. So the best thing to do is have ask, can you make another appointment to come back? Because once you hear the word cancer, it just really does something to you. And then I would always say, bring somebody with you that you trust, who can hear that conversation, because on the ride home is when a lot of conversation may happen. So you want somebody that was with you, that you trust, that will get this information explained to them as well, because a lot of times after you hear that C word, you don't hear another thing after that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is simply fantastic. As we have said before, and I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago when it was just me and Pete sitting here, I said, if you're not the right doctor for me, you will view me as your nightmare. Because I walk in and I pull out did somebody just drop their head when I said, I come in and I pull out my notes on my phone and I read you a list because those are my questions. I make a list just like I make a list when I'm going to the grocery store because these are the things I need my answers to. And that's why I'm here. So it's important to do. That's the last place you should go and clam up and have nothing to say. That's the place you need to go and have the most conversation at. Because health is what? Health is wealth. That's what it is. Our time has come, and I know you guys have been texting questions. We've gotten questions. We got some questions left. I have not forgotten you. We got next Monday. We have next Monday, and we will share those questions with you on next Monday just as well. But this hour goes so quickly when we are here with you. And of course, oh, Sister Bonnie says, me too, Nikki. That's right. I make a list, baby. I have a list. I'm that girl. I'm that girl. I'm that girl. I put my glasses on. I cross my legs. I go, hey, doctor, let me tell you. And I started reading my list. So, as we always do, we go around our panel and we ask everyone to give us an until next Monday. So, what are your thoughts? What do you want to leave the viewers with until next Monday? And we'll start with Dr. James Miller. Dr. Miller, your until next Monday.
Okay, my until next Monday is that as we've entered a new year, 2022, let us take a new approach to our health. Let's make it better. Let's figure out what it is that we can do to make it better. You know, every Monday night we're here talking about things that you can do, and it's all in your hands. It's all up to you, actually. To get the information and to utilize that information and to do those things that it's going to make you healthier, and to get that information and not to do anything with it doesn't help you. Using it in a helpful way. And so in 2022, let us, starting with the COVID vaccine and the booster, you read the information, read the details, and use it. Use it according to what is being said, what the studies are being said, in terms of eating. Get the information and use it. Exercise. There's something that you may not be able to do, but there are things that you can do. So let's make 2022 the year that we start doing what we can do and start moving forward to a healthier community.
All right. Absolutely fantastic. Dr. Douglas Graham, your until next Monday.
I really like what Dr. Miller said. I'm just thinking about, I understand how tired we are with dealing with this virus, but we still need to use the information that's out there to see our way forward. It's kind of like if you're in the cave and you want to get out of the cave, it's not the time to turn off your light and try and move forward in the dark. You got to use your skills, your knowledge to get you out of that cave to daylight. So, listen to the information that's out there, take advantage of it, and get those boosters. They're out there and they're free. They're going to be that one thing that's going to make a big difference for you in 2022.
All right. Dr. Terry Mason, you're until next Monday.
Remember, you're the most important thing that you've got. And of that, your health is the most important part of you. And you need to do everything you can because your health is your responsibility. At the end of the day, doctors can't make you healthy, and stop looking for magic bullets and magic pills. They do not exist. I'm not saying don't take your medications, but I'm just saying that even with your medications, you have to do the right things and know that you are the best asset you have. not your car, not your house, not your bank account. You make all of that work. So you take care of yourself that way. And if you do that, that body's going to take care of you.
All right, Sarge, you're until next Monday.
Well, what I would like to say is it's a quote from Gandhi, which Martin Luther King actually had used as well. Fitting for today is be the change you wish to see in the world. And by that, I also would add just lead by example. You know, your actions are an example to your family and your friends and your neighborhood and your community. So
Hello?
with the vaccine, um, once you get boosted, once you get your set of vaccines complete,
Hello?
don't be shy to say it. Just be an advocate for it and go out and tell your family and friends, I got mine. Now what are you waiting for? You know, the sooner you get this, the sooner the pandemic is over, the sooner we can get back to connectivity and pursuing our passions and living the life we want to live. And so it starts with a spark. Every movement, every flame is a spark. And why don't you just be that spark? There's nothing to hold you back.
All right, Dr. Maya Green, Dr. 100, you're until next Monday.
I'm listening to all of this and about inflammatory and this being the year. And I don't know how it's gonna sound, but if anybody's out here listening, I just feel there's a song that and we're so far into the pandemic and people are getting tired, and there's a song that says, I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe you brought me this far to leave me. And I just want to leave people with that. I just felt, I think I'm gonna cry a little bit. Boop, get back in there. Spiritual gangster. But I just want, if you're out there and feeling it right now, just want to leave you with that.
All right, all right. Dr. Jody Hampton, you're until next Monday. Now, I don't know how you're going to top that, so you got to come on with the song.
No, I can't do that. But let me tell you something, Dr. Maya. You are a gift. You're like a jewel, and this is why we need diversity in healthcare, guys. I mean, this child and like told stories. I mean, the way you explain stuff, and me and Brother Pete, when we were in medical school, we learned that the people who can explain it, they know it. So she explains things, keep it simple. I just want to do a shout out to you. You blessed us tonight. I just love how you share your information. I do want to share two things. Needed Dr. Terry Mason for this one, but there's two things I want to share. One is I want to share in the show notes, in the comments, Dr. Jasmine Cersei's book. It's on pre-sale. Olivia Takes a Mental Health Day. And as you know, she's our resident mental health professional. So I'll share it in the show notes because I think we need to support her as she tries to give her gift to the world. And I'm really proud of her and what she's doing. So I'm going to send that right now. The other thing, which is what I was commenting about Dr. Terry Mason, he inspired me to want to be in a documentary. So I'll share in the show notes the Beyond Impossible documentary. And he inspired me. And it's really not a documentary to talk about, low carb versus vegetarian. It's really about processed food. And we talked about how important it is to keep toxins out of your body and to cook food. So it really kind of looks at, if we buy things in a box, is that really the best way to be healthy? So I just wanted to share those two gifts. But shout out to Dr. Maya, Dr. Cersei for just being two strong sisters that's out here representing for us. So that's my final word.
All right. All right. Dr. Pete, you're until next Monday.
So until next Monday, I'm just thinking, just to culminate everything that people were saying, is mind, body, and spirit. So we have to take care of our minds, and it's important that we don't engage in a lot of the day-to-day stress, right? We got to have avenues to deal with those stress. Your body, you got to go get vaccinated. You got to get your booster. I mean, that's your body. That's the temple, right? Right now, only 38% of the US population has been boosted. You got to go get the booster, right? Because Omicron is a different animal. It's different. And so we have to help our patients deal with the anxiety, mind, right? Of not again, right? But yes, finish the game. You're only at the third quarter. We're about to win, but we need everybody diligent. Go get so to Dr. Sir's point, talk to your family members. Girl, I got my vaccine. I just got my booster. Where are you going? I got mine over here. Come on over here. Come to Howard Brown. Come to Near North. Come to Advocate, wherever, to get your booster, or to prison, right? Prison. Okay. So, but then the other thing is mind, body, and spirit. I mean, some kind of way, I don't care what religion you're in, just take care of your spirit, because so goes the spirit, so goes the rest of the body, right? So even with all the vaccines, with all the medicine, with all the other things, if you don't take care of your spirit, and so that's why I think Dr. Tony's point about Dr. Cersei's book, anything we can do to get in tune with yourself, right? If that's meditation, if that's prayer, if that's a walk, and you can also meditate while you walk. So mind, body, and spirit, take care of those things, and definitely go get your booster.
All right, simply fantastic. I want to say just a few
Well,
things.
not really,
One,
because I'm retired now.
Dr.
I
Mason.
want to say okay. One, I want to say congratulations to the vaccine event we had today. We didn't have startling numbers or anything today. However, out of the numbers that we did have, at least 80% of those numbers were young men of color who came out. And I want to say congratulations to every last one of those men who came out to be vaccinated on today. So hats off to you. It was simply fantastic to see you come in. And then some of them got on the phone and called their friends and was like, you come on over here and get vaccinated. So and when the hour kind of narrowed down, they told them where to go tomorrow to go and get vaccinated. So if you need a vaccination, you can come right over into North Lawndale on tomorrow to Greater Galilee, right on Douglas, and be vaccinated on tomorrow at Greater Galilee between 10 and 2. So just want to say hats off to those young men of color who were out on today, making sure that they got vaccinated from all walks of life. They were coming out to get vaccinated tonight. Yes, earlier today. If Martin Luther King was here today, as we celebrate his birthday, there are two great quotes. I mean, everything that he said, I really marvel in. But there are two things that always stick out about Martin Luther King to me. And one is, we must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish together as fools. And we need to really look at that and apply it to each of our lives. And he also said, the time is always right to do what's right. And a lot of times when you're doing right, you may stand alone, but that is okay. Continue to do what's right, especially when you allow the Lord to order your footsteps. He tells us that we are a peculiar type of people, and it's okay to be alone when you are doing what's right. You sleep better, you can rest better, and you can create those good endorphins when you are doing what's right. So as we always say, we want to remind you guys to wash your hands. As Dr. Maya says, don't forget to get in here. Don't forget to get in there. Wash those hands. Please wash them. We are averaging 1,000 more patients being as inpatients in hospitals per week right now due to this influx of the virus. Statistically speaking, there are 1,000 more people in everybody's hospital in the state of Illinois. So let's be mindful to make sure we follow these steps. Washing of our hands, and regardless how things have changed, social distancing never changed. So remember to always social distance. Remember to do that. And most of all, remember to mask up. It is so important to mask up and to wear those masks properly over your nose and mouth. Remember? Nose and mouth. Keep them over your nose and your mouth. Make sure that you mask up. And then the next thing you need to do is just join us here next Monday night. Remember to share, and invite your friends to meet us right here. Same bad time, same bad station, next Monday night. Good night, everyone.